Cool to see, kind of like, for me, like similar technologies on stage next to each other. So perhaps the easiest way for me to get over of asking the first question is like, how do you differ from the last guy?
They are green, we are red.
I'm usually kind of like thinking on the blue team and red team are the bad guys. So was that the reference? Oh no, the green and red is probably different thing. Like more major, like or more kind of like ready for picking.
We can discuss it for a long time, the differences. We can discuss the history. We can discuss the features and the capabilities. But obviously,
but technologically.
From the technology point of view, we offer backup solution. We offer a solution to recover the customer's data. And each vendor that is offering the backup solution focuses also on the recovery. And honestly speaking, there are no big differences between the vendors because what you are looking for a solution that will back up your data, for sure. And
but there are always some complexities.
Exactly. And the complexities usually comes into play when you are discussing the recovery. Everybody is able to recover a single virtual machine, a few virtual machines. But what if you will face a ransomware attack and all your infrastructure gets compromised and you need to recover all your infrastructure? And you need to do it in a reasonable amount of time. And then the differences comes into play because it's not a challenge to recover a few servers, but if you want to recover all your environment, actually one of our customers some time ago faced a ransomware attack, and it was a telco operator. And their roughly 1,200 virtual machines has been compromised. So they had to recover such an amount of data, and the downtime from their customer perspective. So actually, the telco things has been working because it's completely different environment. But for example, the call center and that stuff, it is customer facing. It was down for less than 4 hours. And after 4 hours, they have been up and running, and their customers have not noticed anything else. Of course, after those 4 hours, they have been recovering other virtual machines, less important and other stuff. So it took them some time, but the prioritization and the level of automation that we already discussed or you have discussed before helped the customer to prioritize it and to recover it much more quickly. So the difference between the solutions comes into play when you are facing some issues. And of course, what we're trying to emphasize is that the backup is the last line of the defense. So you should consider that the attack will happen, the attacker will get inside your environment, and the attacker will gain the elevated permissions. So you need to architect the backup environment the way as the backup environment should resist even a disgruntled backup admin or a bad paid backup admin or whatever. So because the attacker will gain those permissions. So you need to set up the environment the way that it will survive even an attack from someone who has the permissions.
So actually, I understand the main concept. Actually, when I'm going to kind of like build a backup system, is to kind of like understand what I'm backupping and what I need to restore, put it kind of into different tiers. So when something happens, then I kind of like, I'm not just restoring everything, but I kind of like know how I lift up my services one by one and which works together with which other services, so I can manage the kind of like restore as
exactly.
Like there is a network as a code. Is there also kind of like restore as a code? Can I write a YAML file for describing that?
This can be something similar. We have a solution. We call it a resiliency platform that you can orchestrate, and with a visual diagram you can put those interconnections. And for example, if you have You were discussing the Kubernetes environment. This is a little bit different, but still those customers have the old 3-tier architectures like databases, their core Informix system that they are running for 20 years and no one knows how it's done because those people are no longer either alive or within the company. So those databases, application service, front-end service, and you need to prioritize it and restore it in a specific order, start it up, shut it down in a specific order, and those all the steps you can automate and orchestrate in this kind of a platform. So in the ideal world, there can be a single click that will allow you to recover your whole environment from the most critical assets at first and then the less critical at last. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, if you know how your application works in Kubernetes, there are various ways, and if you don't know how your application works, then you provide a dashboard to kind of like not care about what has been backed up, and kind of like make sure it gets up again.
Well, you should care about what's being backed up. Definitely.
No, this, but yeah,
actually,
it's often the question that everybody has left, Elvis has left the building already, and like I don't know, this is this box, and it just I don't know went down.
Yeah,
and has come up.
I mentioned that telco customer, they have recovered 1,200 virtual machines, and they have not recovered a single server. Obviously, they were not backing up the server because they considered it as a not important, and they find out, okay, something for approving business trips or something really not important. Yeah.
But turns out it kind of like
they just decided to purchase a new solution and.
Okay. Time for that.
Time for change. Yeah.
I've been doing the kind of
reason for change.
Yeah, I've been at the work. I'm doing some kind of application modernization work, and it's just like, whatever is running here, what it is, where did it come, where it goes, if I do, and the easy solution is turn it off, and somebody will kind of like be angry. The bad part is that if it's accounting, they will be finding that probably just months later when they're doing new invoices, and you kind of like need to have a backup plan for them also.
It happens quite often. We have one example from customer that exactly they didn't know what is it for, so they shut it down, and after a year, someone called and that they are missing the system, so they powered it up for a week and then shut it down. So they're using it for 1 month, one week per year. Yeah.
This is also a very good security idea to systems that you don't need actually daily. You just shut it down and then put it up because
this
if,
is a principle
if it's turned off, then it can't be hacked.
That's actually the zero trust principle. Yeah, the principle of least privilege and minimize the use. So shut it down when it's not being used.
Another thing actually, which is kind of like. For backups, for me, is like, okay, when you are kind of like talking about the ransomware and kind of like thinking the old style of ransomware where they are encrypting something, then that's one thing. But with current kind of like attack methods, it is usually like they are just lifting out the data. They're probably leaving some backdoors in. They have, I don't know, created some credentials or whatever. And my greatest kind of like feeling is that when I do restore, I'll be restoring not only my code, but also their code and their accounts and their databases.
Yes.
So kind of like, how do you look at that side? So what do you do for that?
This is the most challenging part, to find out the point that you want to recover. And for this, either you need to consult some security solution to find the attack vector, what was the time, and which files have been used by some kind of a EDR, XDR solution. So this is the role of the security vendors.
It is usually more than 4 hours.
Definitely. Well, actually, the persistence is, according to some statistics, it's about 26 days. 26 days the attackers inside the network before he politely asked for some kind of answer.
It used to be 200 days, so we actually we can now start a backup.
What we are doing we are, for example, able to detect that you are protecting encrypted data. If the attacker suddenly starts to encrypt the data on backend and just provide you access to the data, something like a BitLocker technology or whatever they are using, so we are able to analyze the anomaly in the backup chain, and we can tell you, oh, the entropy of the data has changed, and now it looks like you are backing up encrypted data. Maybe those are video files, or definitely encrypted files that you want to back up, but maybe it is a symptom of some attack in the progress. And we are also able to scan the data for malware presence. So before you restore, you are able to scan the backup images and recover only the data that seems to be good and seems to be clean. Because usually the malware, right now you will not have a definition or something like that, because it's some typical code. They are using native tools. But after some time, those security vendors will learn how to find the code. So in case you will need to recover, you are able to find a file that looks correct a month ago, but now it refers to a malicious code. So you don't need to recover it. Or you can deploy an isolated recovery environment, which is the best way, and leverage, for example, public cloud for it, and just recover the machines in an isolated environment, in different network, and scan it and just test it. Because when it comes to the ransomware recovery, usually you are not able to recover to the original environment. Because you will lose the trail. You need to find the investigation.
And so on.
Investigation. We have experience with one of the customers in Germany when the police just locked out their servers for 14 days. And the company, they had a backup, they would like to restore, but now let's go to the shop and buy servers immediately. You will wait a few months. So then the public cloud or any cloud provider with their infrastructure as a service comes into play, because you can offer this to the customers, or the customers can buy it from the public cloud providers, and they have the compute almost instantly.
We're almost out of time, but one question I'm kind of like been thinking all the time. Is it possible to actually see from kind of like backup patterns, like you said, the encryption data, but see some kind of like amount of data, pattern of data changing, and say that, okay, I have something happening in this system. Do you have something like that?
Exactly, because usually you are checking the success rate, the backup job completed successfully. But if you will check the duplication factor, the amount of data, the duration, the amount of files, it has some baseline. And if there is an anomaly, something significantly changed, you can raise an alert. It can be a possible symptom of encryption or some kind of an attack, or a malicious user just randomly deleted a lot of data. It can happen. So we are able to detect it.
Thank you, Josef.